You see, it's not what happens that determines the quality or the quantity of your life. It's not what happens. And the reason is because what happens to about everybody. The sun went down on all of us last night. A common event. And I found out the same things can happen to two different people, but one gets rich and the other stays poor. Why is that? It's because it's not what happens, but rather, it's what you do about it. That is an important phrase for your written and mental notes. It's not what happens. It's what you do that makes the difference in how your life works out. What happens is about the same for everybody. It's what people do that makes the difference. Anything can happen, right? I've heard all of the stories. Hey, I've been one of the stories. We could all tell stories for days on end. Anything can happen. Have you heard of Murphy's Laws? Surely you have. Murph had these laws. One of the laws was, if anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's laws. Anything can happen.
People succeed, some people do, some people don't. And I think it more comes down to how do we manage our mind and how do we manage our days? And I think that there's a difference between successful people and unsuccessful people in the way they particularly think about approaching something new. You know, I think unsuccessful people, when they have a big dream and they start thinking about what's going to be required to accomplish that dream, they get very limiting in their beliefs about themselves and what's possible. And specifically, they say three types of things. You know, the first thing they often say is, well, I don't know how to do that. So they stop. And they say, I don't have those things. So they stop. Or they say, I don't know, I'm not like those people. I'm not like that. And so they stop. But successful people have a different way. They have the same thing. Everybody dreams. You dream, I dream, successful people dream, people just starting out. Everybody dreams. Everyone has a vision. Everyone, if they could just take 5 minutes today and think about their lives, we could all come up with ways to improve our lives and reach another level of success, joy, happiness, achievement, contribution, fulfillment, soul. We can all elevate. But the challenge is that the unsuccessful people, they keep stopping when they think of what they currently know, have, or are. But successful people say, well, I want to do that, but I don't know how to do that. But instead of stopping, they say, well, then my job is to go learn that. They take their current limitation and they put it on their agenda as a job to do, as a thing to figure out, a thing to make happen.
My point is, the person who's worried is focusing on something different and making a different decision. They're focusing on maybe they were in an accident, maybe they were hurt, maybe they were killed. They're giving it that meaning, it freaks them out. The person who's angry, they're focusing on they didn't do it again, they don't care about me, and they make up a meaning. So whatever we focus on, we feel. Have you ever thought someone did something to you and you got so angry and maybe confronted them and then found out you were wrong and you felt like such an idiot? Well, why were you wrong? Because when you focus on it, it feels so true to you, so you think it is true. So what decision, and the second decision, by the way, you make is, what does this mean? The minute you focus on something, you have to give it a meaning. And is this the end or is this the beginning? Is this person dissing me? Is this person ripping me up? Is this person challenging me? Is this person actually coaching me? Is this person actually loving me? If you think they're ripping you apart, you're going to respond very differently, feel different, react different than if you think they're just coaching you or loving you. And so we make these decisions about what to focus on, what things mean, and whatever meaning you give it, it's going to give you an emotion. If you think somebody's ripping you off, you're going to feel very differently than if you think they're trying to help you. And whether it's true or not doesn't matter. All that matters is what you focus on and the meaning you give it. And that'll produce an emotion, and from that you make the third decision, what am I going to do? So if you said to me, Tony, okay, get to the point. What's the decision I need to make? Well, I'll give you one more example. If you asked me a year and a half ago, what would be the most important decision in life? I would say who you decide to love, who you decide to spend your life with, because who you spend time with is who you become. And in my case with my wife, my Bonnie Pearl, my Sage, she's somewhere around. I'm not doing this to make her feel good. She's the most important decision I ever made in that area. But today, my wife and I both agree there's a decision that's even more important than that. Because your husband or wife could die, God forbid. Or they could change their values, change their beliefs, change their life, and leave you, divorce you. So if you're going to have an extraordinary, magnificent life where you're truly fulfilled, then the most important decision to make is that you're going to no longer suffer and you're going to live in a beautiful state every day, even when things don't go your way.
There's another rule in my book, which is Rule 9. Assume that the person that you're listening to knows something you don't. Well, they do. The person you're listening to knows some things you don't. You can be sure of that. Now, whether or not you can get to them is a different matter, but if you do get to them, it's a real deal for you. That's why you want to listen to the other person's arguments, is because you're not everything you could be. You don't know the pathway forward with as much clarity as you could. And it's possible. This is one of the wonderful things that I've had the privilege of experiencing as a clinician. Because people, it's like I live inside a Dostoevsky novel as a clinician. People come in and they tell me about their lives, and I listen to them, and they tell me things that are just absolutely beyond belief, And I learn from my clients constantly. They're telling me honestly about their experience. They tell me things they wouldn't tell anyone else because I actually listen to them. But part of the reason I listen is because I'm desperate to listen. It's like there's a possibility I'm going to do something stupid in the next 5 years that's going to be like fatal. And there's some small possibility that if we have a decent discussion, that you'll tell me something that will eliminate some of my blindness so that I don't have to fall into that particular pit. And if you have a good sensitivity for the depth of the pit, then you're pretty bloody motivated to avoid it. And so, and that dialogue it's dialogic, it's dialogos, right? It's shared logos. It's the way that we redeem ourselves mutually moving forward.
This is the one that's important. Anything you work hard to accomplish, anything you struggle over to make it happen, anything you put a lot of effort in, I want this, I'm gonna work like crazy, I'm gonna get this. My first question is, why are you working so hard? And the answer is very simple. Anything you're struggling to try to accomplish, whether it's health or love, relationships, whatever it is, if you're struggling, it represents a simple fact. Your subconscious programming doesn't support that conclusion. So the fact is, what are my programs? Look at your struggle. And wherever you're struggling, the struggle is not because the universe won't provide for you. The struggle is an internal job. The struggle is you're trying to overcome previous programming that prevents you to go to that destination. So the wonderful part about this understanding is you don't have to review your life. You can look right now at this one moment, just look in your head and say, what are the things that I keep trying to get and they seem to be elusive? I can't get them. They're always out of reach. I say, the universe is not holding back. It's your...
Whatever it is, we all have these excuses. And I call all of these things that we hang on to and use to keep ourselves from reaching these higher places in our lives, the wake. I call it the wake. And the wake comes from a story that I heard Alan Watts tell one time, and it was a very powerful story. He said, your life is like a boat, and it's heading up the river at, say, 40 knots. Right? And as it's going, you are somehow able to metaphorically stand on the stern, the back of the boat, and look down into the water. Now there goes your life in this direction, and you're standing here and you're looking down into the water, and you ask yourself these three questions. The first question, what is the wake? What is it? What is this thing that you see? And the answer, the wake is the trail that is left behind. That's what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. It's the trail that is left behind. Second question to ask yourself in this little metaphor: what's driving the boat? What's making this thing go in this direction? The answer: the present moment energy that's being generated by the engine, and nothing more. That's the only thing that's making the boat go in this direction. And in this little scene, this means it's the present moment thoughts that I have and how I am using them that is making my life go in this direction, and nothing more. Because the third question is the most important and powerful question. And ever since I heard it, I've always thought about this whenever I have a tendency to look back here and blame something. Is it possible for the wake to drive the boat? That is, can a trail that is left behind make a boat go in this direction? And of course the answer to that is no, it can't. It's just a trail that is left behind. And in that trail, there are an enormous number of things, and every one of us has a wake. And we have a whole lot of stuff in it. And one of the problems that we have is that we have a tendency to look at the wake and all of the stuff that's in it to explain why it is my life isn't working the way I would like it to work.